The movie kicks off with Sheriff Cliff and Ronnie venturing into the forest, where they stumble upon signs of recent human activity. As they pause to investigate, Cliff strikes up a conversation with a mysterious figure named Bob, much to Ronnie's surprise, who can't see him. Cliff reveals that Bob recently stole Farmer Miller's prized hen, which is a serious offense in their town. This revelation triggers Bob, who erupts in a fit of anger and starts shooting at them. Ronnie instinctively reaches for his gun, but Cliff calmly intervenes, lowering Ronnie's weapon and peacefully convincing Bob to cease his unlawful behavior. After defusing the tense situation, they head back towards the police station. Ronnie suggests they should arrest Bob for his violent outbursts, but Cliff, who has a history with Bob, believes he's harmless despite this incident. As they travel, they notice an unusual phenomenon. The evening sun is blazing bright at what should be 8 p.m. Ronnie's watch seems broken, adding to their growing unease. Ronnie senses impending trouble, muttering, "Whatever's happening, it's not going to end well." Meanwhile, Bob encounters an eerie scene at a grave, observing ants swarming everywhere. Back with Ronnie and Cliff, Cliff suggests grabbing a coffee or donuts at a local diner, but Ronnie declines. Their colleague Mindy reaches out over the radio, but their communication is cut short. Ronnie checks his phone, only to find it mysteriously dead despite being fully charged. Frustrated, he tries the radio, only to stumble upon a strangely fitting song, "Dead Don't Die" by Simpson. The scene shifts to a diner, where Farmer Miller is berating the waitress, Fern. He places his order gruffly, and nearby patron Hank confronts him about unfairly accusing Bob, insisting a fox might be the real culprit. Miller, angered by the suggestion, responds with racist remarks before storming off. At Centerville Detention Center, 3 kids, Geronimo, Stella, and Liv, are glued to the news, learning about polar fracking and its bizarre effects on the planet's rotation. Geronimo, overwhelmed by the implications, fearfully predicts the impending destruction of Earth but hesitates to voice his darkest thoughts. As Stella finishes her thought, the guard shows up to enforce bedtime, pointedly telling Geronimo to leave since he's been sitting with the girls. The scene shifts to Dean arriving at Bobby's shop with a gift of magazines for Bobby's collection. Bobby is thrilled with the present, and before Dean leaves, he asks him for some advice. Dean, with a smile, says, "Life is beautiful, appreciate the details," and walks out. The movie then moves to Danny, who is pouring feed for his cats but can't find them anywhere. He tunes into the news and hears about pets acting strangely. A woman on TV claims her cat has turned vicious. Feeling uneasy, Danny locks up, worried about his cats. Meanwhile, Farmer Miller is also searching for his dog and spots it sitting outside. When he calls the dog, it runs away. Miller looks toward his farm and sees it's eerily empty. Using binoculars, Bob spots Miller's cow running toward the woods, welcoming them into his world. Back at the police station, Cliff is staring at the decaying body of an elderly inmate named Mallory. The sight makes Ronnie uneasy, and he asks Cliff when the body will be taken away. Cliff assures him it will be gone by tomorrow. Mindy suggests sending the body to the funeral home, but Cliff explains that the new, peculiar funeral director is preoccupied with 2 golfers who were struck by lightning. Cliff admits the strange daylight is unsettling, while Ronnie, gazing outside, ominously declares, "This is going to end badly." When asked what he means, Ronnie confesses he has a strong feeling of impending doom. At the diner, Hank is chatting with Fern and Lily about Mallory when he suddenly remembers he needs to leave. Once he's gone, Fern turns to Lily and asks about the new foreigner at the funeral home. Lily tells her the woman's name is Zelda and mentions her quirky Scottish-Irish accent. Switching topics, Fern asks about the dark rooms at the funeral home. Lily describes how creepy those rooms are and reveals that there's a golden Buddha statue hidden behind them. Over at the funeral home, Zelda is practicing her samurai skills, showcasing impressive sword control. After she finishes, she notices one of the corpses has moved an arm. As she places it back, the body starts to move again. Meanwhile, at the detention center, Liv wakes up terrified, but Stella manages to calm her down. Back at the graveyard, a dead biker couple bursts out of their graves, breaking through the ground. Lily is cleaning up the diner while Fern is heading out when the zombie couple arrives and attacks. The female zombie brutally kills Fern, and the male zombie overpowers and kills Lily despite her efforts to fend him off. The zombies then get distracted by the coffee and take a few sips before resuming their gruesome feast. The next morning, Cliff is jolted awake by a call from Hank, informing him about the diner incident. Cliff rushes over and is devastated to find Lily and Fern's lifeless bodies. Returning to Hank, he wonders aloud if it could have been a wild animal or several. Just then, Ronnie drives up and is directed to the diner. He, too, is shocked by the scene and echoes Hank's question. Was it a wild animal or several wild animals? When Mindy arrives, Cliff warns her not to look inside, but she does anyway and repeats the same question before vomiting from the sight. After Hank and Mindy leave, Cliff asks Ronnie for his thoughts and is stunned when Ronnie quietly says, "Zombies." The scene then shifts to three friends, Jack, Zoe, and Zach. They realize they've lost reception on their phones, adding to the growing sense of unease. Zoe plays "The Dead Don't Die" on the car stereo as she, Jack, and Zach continue their road trip. They pull into Bobby's shop to refuel, and Zoe compliments Bobby's shirt. Bobby impresses them with his extensive knowledge of movies. Jack picks up a newspaper headlined with stories of zombies and the end of the world due to polar fracking, but Bobby interrupts, asking for payment. Zoe spots a CD of "The Dead Don't Die" and buys it. As they leave, Bobby admires their car, and Zoe again praises his movie knowledge. Meanwhile, Zelda leaves the funeral home and arrives at the police station. Mindy is already there, anxious about Mallory's body staying another night. Zelda chats with Mindy but gets distracted by the ammunition and the subtle movements of Mallory's corpse. She regains focus and asks Mindy if she's in a relationship with Ronnie. Mindy denies it and questions Zelda's curiosity, to which Zelda responds she's just gathering information about the locals. Cliff and Ronnie are talking to Danny when they spot Jack and Zach admiring their car. After the boys leave, Danny makes a wrong guess about their nationality, but Ronnie, with a more educated guess, suggests they're from Cleveland. Suddenly, Zoe arrives asking about a diner, only to learn the only one around is closed indefinitely. She needs change for $3, and Ronnie helps her out, commenting on his nice badge. As Zoe heads back, Ronnie casually mentions to Cliff that she's Mexican. When asked how he knows, Ronnie claims he has an affinity for Mexican people, prompting Cliff to tell him to warn his favorite folks to stay alert at night. As Ronnie leaves, Danny shares his concern about his missing cats with Cliff, who reassures him that the cats are probably just hiding. In the next scene, Bob is wandering through the forest when he stumbles upon a book by Melville and cryptically remarks, "Nameless miseries of the numberless immortals." At the detention center, Liv and Stella are gazing outside when Geronimo sneaks up and scares them. He talks about a gruesome incident and predicts a full-blown zombie apocalypse. Just then, a guard shows up and takes him away. Meanwhile, Ronnie and Cliff visit the graveyard. Ronnie dislikes how the kids' graves are separated from the adults. Cliff chuckles at the absurdity of searching for zombies and accidentally falls into a grave. They find another empty grave nearby, prompting Ronnie to mutter, "This is not going to end well." As they leave, Bob watches them and, checking the graves, declares, "The ghouls." Back with Cliff and Ronnie, Cliff confesses he was supposed to retire 2 years ago but didn't. When Ronnie tries to dig deeper, Cliff changes the subject. Ronnie suggests informing the townspeople about the zombies, starting with Miller. Cliff, who dislikes Miller, decides they'll make Mindy call him instead. Cliff then asks how to kill a zombie, and Ronnie advises complete decapitation. Meanwhile, Bobby is at Hank's store, explaining, "To kill the undead, you must destroy the head." Hank is skeptical, but Bobby insists it's better to be safe than sorry. Zoe, Jack, and Zach overhear the news, and Zoe and Zach realize Bobby wasn't lying about the zombies. Though Jack remains doubtful, the others stay alert. Later that night, the dead rise from their graves. Danny, searching for his cats, is attacked and killed by zombies. Cliff and Ronnie return to the police station to inform Mindy about the zombies and mention how no one joined Bobby and Hank's campaign to stay alert. Mindy is skeptical until Mallory suddenly reanimates. Terrified, Mindy watches as Cliff shoots Mallory in the arm, but she keeps moving. Ronnie steps in and decapitates her after several attempts, yet Mallory continues to talk. Finally, Cliff shoots her again and tells Mindy, "Always aim for the head." Zelda is applying makeup to the dead golfers when they suddenly wake up. Calmly, she declares they're not ready to die today and swiftly beheads them with her samurai sword. Meanwhile, Miller hears a knock at his door and is attacked by a zombie. He quickly grabs his gun and blows the zombie's head off. At Hank and Bobby's store, the two find themselves surrounded by a horde of zombies. They barricade the entrance, but two zombies, known as the Good Brothers, break in. Bobby kills one, and Hank struggles with the other until Bobby reminds him to aim for the head. Following the advice, Hank successfully kills the zombie. At the detention center, the kids see their guards killed and lock the doors, escaping through the back. Cliff, Mindy, and Ronnie witness the chaos, and Mindy breaks down in tears. Cliff tries to comfort her with, "Everything will be okay." But Ronnie, more pessimistic, only heightens her fear. Meanwhile, zombie Danny heads toward the room where the three youngsters are hiding, ominously muttering, "Cleveland." Bob, observing the crows in the sky, senses that something is terribly wrong. At the police station, the officers are shocked to see Zelda brutally butchering zombies. As she approaches, they open the door for her. When asked about their plan of action, Cliff suggests touring the community, and Mindy agrees to join. Zelda opts to stay behind, assuring them she can handle their system. Before they leave, Zelda asks for the keys to Ronnie's personal car. During their patrol, Ronnie kills a zombie for fun, and they notice that the zombies are gravitating back to their former workplaces. As they get distracted, Cliff accidentally runs over a zombie with the car, offending Mindy. Meanwhile, Miller defends his property by taking down a few trespassers, wondering where they are all coming from. The officers then stop outside a motel and find the youngsters dead. Ronnie decapitates the boys and discovers the dead don't die disc next to Zoe. When he beheads her, Mindy protests, saying it wasn't necessary. Ronnie reassures her that they would have turned into zombies soon, and Cliff supports Ronnie's decision. Meanwhile, at the police station, Zelda magically turns on the computer and types codes at lightning speed. When she's done, she mocks the zombies lingering outside. On the road, Ronnie plays "The Dead Don't Die" again, which annoys Cliff, who promptly throws the CD out the window. Soon, they arrive outside Hank's shop. Cliff wants to help Hank and Bobby, but Ronnie and Mindy urge him to drive away to avoid attracting more zombies. Inside the shop, Hank and Bobby have locked the door and are discussing the Good Brothers when zombies break in. Despite their efforts, they are overpowered. The kids escape from the detention center and rush toward the city. Meanwhile, Bob watches with twisted delight as Miller is overrun by a zombie horde, enjoying his chicken all the while. As the officer's car gets stuck while attempting to crush the zombies, they are forced to wait inside. Ronnie frustrates Cliff by repeating, "This is definitely not going to end well." Mindy tries to keep them from fighting but loses her patience when she sees her zombified grandma outside calling to her. Ignoring their warnings, she steps out and is quickly overpowered by zombies. Meanwhile, Zelda, now driving Ronnie's car, spots a curious zombie and kills her. As Zelda drives away, the kids watch from a distance, then Geronimo leads his friends to safety. Back with Cliff and Ronnie, Cliff questions Ronnie's calm demeanor amid the chaos. Ronnie explains he's been dealing with things in his own way. Cliff then asks how Ronnie knew things would end badly. Ronnie reveals he read the movie script, which hurts Cliff's feelings since he wasn't given the full script. Moments later, Zelda arrives at the cemetery and swiftly takes down two zombies approaching her. She notices Cliff and Ronnie's stuck car and waits. As the zombies leave their car and gather around, a UFO descends. Zelda steps into the beam of light and is lifted into the spaceship, which then takes off. Bob watches in shock from a distance as the UFO departs. Cliff and Ronnie, however, are strangely thrilled. Cliff asks what they should do next, and Ronnie suggests they give it their all in one final attempt. They step out of their car and start attacking the zombies, Cliff with his shotgun and Ronnie with a sword. In the midst of the chaos, Ronnie spots Bobby but tragically has to kill him. Miller then attacks Cliff, but Cliff is ready and blows Miller's head off, having waited for this moment. He encounters Mindy's grandma next and kills her too. When he sees Hank, Cliff hesitates and lets him go, saying he can't bring himself to kill him. Meanwhile, Ronnie sees Mindy approaching and before Cliff can stop him, decapitates her without mercy. The duo reunites and continues their fight against the zombie horde. Bob watches the scene unfold and declares it to be the end of the world. As Cliff and Ronnie are overwhelmed by the sheer number of zombies, Bob solemnly claims the end of their story. The movie concludes with this grim declaration, marking the end of their battle.